Hello and welcome back to Bill's Workbench. This is the very first of my new Let's Learn Together series. Now, what the heck does that mean? That means I'm going to do something and we're going to learn together how to do it. Hopefully you'll learn something and I'll learn something at the same time. This episode will be assembling bag A of my Orlandoo Hunter cell phone size rock crawler, or bouncer, or whatever they call this thing. So first, let's discover the tools that I think I'm going to need to complete this build. I've looked over the instructions, so I've read the factory manual. And let's see what tools I think we're going to need. If you're interested in any of these tools, I'm going to pop up a QR code of each of the tools that I'm going to use. So let's get started. With bag A, we're obviously going to need bag A. We're going to need bag X, because bag X has all of the screws and all of that in it. We're going to need the servo that came with the kit as well. I have everything on one of these cool silicone mats. What I found when I put together my Jeep is I would drop one of those little baby screws, it would bounce off the workbench, and who knows where it went. But when I started using the mat, didn't have that problem. The screws stayed in place. So you're going to need a P0 Phillips screwdriver. You're going to need a 0.9 millimeter Allen, or hex, or whatever you want to call the thing. So 0.9 millimeters. That is for the little ball screws. You're going to need a file, and that's to clean off the debris from the tree when you cut off the things. You're going to need a nice set of side cutters for cutting off the parts from the tree. You're going to need some tweezers in order to pick up these little small parts and put them into place. Some scissors to cut the bags open and such. Some moly grease is what I'm using. You can use about any grease really for RC cars. There's also some grease available for trains, and that would probably work just fine as well. But I'm using the moly grease that I used on my lathe, and then I like this because it has graphite in it. It makes it real slick. So those are all the tools that I'm going to be using to assemble the first part of this rock crawler. So let's get started. We're going to start with putting the servo aside, putting box or bag A aside. Start with bag X. Alright, it's got an Allen key that strips out the second time you use it, but hopefully we can use it 4 times because there is a spot we need this. Double stick tape, all of the great screws, nut driver, and the Phillips screwdriver that we won't use. Important safety tip with the screws. Don't take them out of the bag until you need them. They're all labeled with the screw numbers. There are more screws than you need, so don't be afraid when you get to the point where, hey, I'm done, but I got all these screws left over. It's okay. Here they all are. They're all labeled, very handy, and they're also labeled in the instructions right there. There's a 1503, so that would be these screws right here. I'm going to set these aside. I like to set these aside in order, so I will put them in the order, their number orders. So the O2s and the O3s, so on and so forth. I'll set them over here off camera. Alright, bag A. This also contains a bunch of small parts. This is the ball joint part that goes for the steering, that connects the part that connects to the servo and to the wheel. So don't lose that. A Main Hobbies has these inexpensive if you lose it. Don't get it on Amazon. Ball heads, we're going to be needing those. The large and the small bearings. The U-joints, or whatever those are called, the turnbuckles, luckily those are all together for us. The gears, the axles, and they give you a lot of these parts too. You're only going to need one of these, so don't cut them all off. Just wait until it says which one to cut. So don't cut anything off until you're ready to cut it off, because they use the same trees for different models. Okay, so we're not going to need this one for a little bit until the next step, but we are going to start with taking apart. We're going to start with number 1 here, and we'll start by putting the bearings in, and then we'll get the axle put together, and then we'll put the bearings in the axle, throw it together, and grease it up and screw it up. Can't be that hard. So I'm not going to take the screws out until I need them. I'm not going to take out any of these parts until I need them, because they are all very, very small. Okay, we are doing the front axle first. The front axles are the smaller of the two. So we'll cut those off. These two mating pieces, these are the things you want to file the little nubbins off. I don't use a hobby knife for this, because a hobby knife is going to get, it's going to take off more than we want. Just make sure that you've got a nice flush edge here and here where they'll meet together. Okay, now it's important that you get these orientated correctly, especially when getting to step 3 and putting these on. If you put these, the parts for where the servo goes on top and the part for where the suspension connects to, like it shows you here in the instructions, what to do, what not to do. If you get that incorrect, you're going to have to flip it when you put it together, because one side will spin backwards and the other side will spin forwards. So if that happens to you, you know that you made a mistake in this area right here. You just need to flip that around. Alright, there's those. Let's get the bearings in. I need the small bearings for this, I believe. I'm going to find out. Alright, I've got a stick that I'm going to use to do the pushing to get it into the final spot. It doesn't click or anything, it just goes in place. There's that piece. So we got that done. Got this part done. Now we're going to work on this part here. Is the second most difficult part of the whole thing, because this is very, very small, and it goes in through 2 holes that are inside the gear and then 1 hole that is inside of the axle. And I need the shorter axle of the 2. And the gears and the O-rings are the same. Now the O-ring is used to hold in the little metal retaining, whatever that's called. Oh, there it is. Oh, golly. Alright, so you have the retaining pin, the spur gear, I would call that, I don't know if that's right or not, the pinion, the axle, the where to go clip, because when it flies through the air, it's where did it go, and then the O-ring. I'm going to put the where did it go clip in first. There we go. Alright, that's done. This part is going to go like this. And I need to get that lined up. Okay, and then the O-ring. Okay, there's the axle. Pinion in. Oh, we need 2 more bearings. And those are the small bearings as well. No. It's spinning well. I'm not going to lube it yet until I get a nice test fit. And I know it's going to work right. Yeah, there's no binding. So that's good. I'll get my screws together. And the screws we're going to need for this are the 1204s. 1204s. We'll need 2 of those. Make sure you close the bag up. Alright, let's grease this up. Yep, that's good. Then the 2 screws are going to go here and here. These 2 spots are what's hold on the servo. We need our P0 screwdriver. Mine is magnetized. Oh. Alright, you don't want to do these too tight, but you do want to test it. Because you don't want it to bind. And it's easier to test everything when you've just assembled it than it is to try to fix it later. Okay, so now we put the servo together. So the servo needs a little servo-y thing. That's here on this tree. And it is number 2, so it's this one. What else are we going to need? We're going to need number 3 on this one. Alright, there is some preparation we need to do before we put that on. The these parts come off, it looks like. Just double check to make sure this is, oh, no, see, I was going to cut off this little extra nubbin here, and I didn't need to. This part, I was going to cut off this part, but it's right there. I won't do that. It's flush. Alright. Now, let's put the servo into here and then we'll prep it. Servo. Make sure your wires are way down here before you cut through both. Don't ask me how I know that. Okay, we don't need to trim off the little nubbins here on the servo. On the Jeep, I had to trim off the little nubbins here. Don't have to do it on this one, so that is good. It's going to sit in like this. I can see I have a angled piece right here. There's the angled piece here. So it goes like this. And then this goes in like that. And then we use the 1503s. So that is these guys, 1503s. Just snug. Everything on this model is snug. Nothing is tight. If you put it in tight, you're going to strip it. If you strip it, you're going to be sad. Best way to fix that is to... You're going to need some glue, that like a silicone or something, to put inside the hole. And then I'll have another video on that, a short release on how to fix this stripped. But you'll basically put the silicone in and then use a toothpick to put around inside the hole so it doesn't fill it in. You just want it to coat the outside. Okay, now we don't know where the servo is right now. Well, I know it's in my hand, but where it is in its rotation, and we want this to go straight down. So to do that, we're going to have to get the radio out and the battery out. Alright, so you're going to need your battery. The battery was not included. I got my battery from A Main Hobbies. I have the 260 milliamp hour. Is that what it is? Milliamp hours? Yep, milliamp hours. And we're going to need the 4-in-1 receiver and the radio. Alright, I want to set mine up to be Model 1. I want this to be Model 1 because Model 0 is my Jeep. I'm going to hold the menu buttons down, both of them, turn this on, and wait for the model to blink. Then you can use the plus or minus to change your model number. Then you can turn it off, and then turn it on, and it'll say Model 1, and then tell you how many volts you have. So now on this, you're going to need your switch as well. Switch is in your electronics bag. And the switch goes here. Switch goes here on this one. See, there's a line right here. There's no line here. There's a line right here. You can also tell which side it goes by looking at the end. You can see how the two connectors are towards the back here. They're towards the back here. Okay. And then the battery should have come fully charged or charged enough. And then the servo goes right here. And that way. See, I was looking at the little holes and where the pins are. Okay, I'm going to have to use the bind button. So with it off, I'm going to use the toothpick, because it's non-metallic. Hold the bind button down, turn it on. And now the servo is moving. I want to make sure my servo trim is set to 0. Okay, servo trim is set to 0. With it on, I want to make sure that it's moving. It is. Hold it according to the instructions like this. And we'll put this piece on right here facing down. If you don't do it this way, it's not the end of the world. You'll just have to finagle with the unscrewing it and screwing it back in once it's on the model. See, that wants to go too far down that way. Probably go the other way, too far down. Let's see. Yeah. So I'm going to err towards the side, towards the middle of the servo. Your mileage is going to vary. Alright, and the screw that it wants is another 1503. 1503. Oh, I forgot to put this back on. This is just a piece of wire insulation that I stripped off, and then I put Bondic on the end. Alright, let's get this 1503 in here. I still have it on and plugged in. It'll give me some resistance. Again, snug. Alright, very nice, very nice. Okay, now I can remove these guys. So we'll use the easy way to do that. I use these tweezers. Well, let's turn it off first so I don't short anything out. Use these tweezers and I work my way out with them like that. Don't pull from the wires, you'll pull out the connector, and then you'll have to get a JST connector kit to get that fixed. Alright, I want to disconnect the power the same way. Don't do it all the way with the tweezers, just enough to get it loose. Go. Alright, 1503 is in there. We gotta put a ball head in. This one, you either put it in now or put it in later. Duh. No, but sometimes it's easier to put it in after you put the little end and all that on it. It's easier when the model's all together. I won't take the little connector that connect here off. I'll just unscrew the ball head. Don't want to do those too tight, just tight enough. 0.9 millimeter. Alright, there's that. Now we're going to work on this and that. We'll get that on. And we'll put those two ends on. So that is piece 3. Piece 3. Okay. I'm going to put this piece on first. So it's going to go on. So the narrow part is towards the right, and then this piece is on the top right here like that. So the narrow part, you see how it goes narrow. That's what I'm talking about by narrow. And then this piece goes on the top. And the screws we need are 1205s. We need a few 1205s. We'll get out 2 more. The other ones are 1003s, so we'll get those out in a bit. Alright, so it goes like that. Narrow top. Narrow top. Okay, and then, oh, that goes this way. Like this? Doesn't seem right. I guess it might be, yeah. Oh yeah, it does. Because this piece goes towards the center of the car. This is towards the front of the car. So if we look at this one, we can see this. Here's this piece here like that. And the tie rod is out here. So yeah, that makes sense. It's going to go like so. This. Okay, so that piece is there. Okay, so now we're ready for these guys. I always cut with the flat side towards the part I want to keep. Alright, let's clean off that. Yeah, just a bit, not much. 5 and 5, so they're the same. So they go on like so. Is that right? Are these the right things? These are the wrong things. These are these are these. I was looking at these. I'll set these aside. That's these guys. Yep. These are the ones that go in the back. These are the ones that go in the front. Probably don't need to file these pieces, but I'm here. I'm filing. Alright, so if I look at those go this way with these parts this way. But before I put these in, they're going to go like that. Before I put these in, I want to get the balls on there. I can get them on before. Yeah, that's fine. Alright, we need some 1003s. We're going to need 4 of those. We're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4 1003s and 4 of the ball heads. To the ball. Well, this one in place. Okay. Goes here. That's why I use the silicone mat. No resistance until you get to the very end. If there's resistance, you don't have it aligned properly. Okay. Still smooth. Yeah. Good, good, good. Alright, let's take a look at what we've done. We've done all this part, we've done this part, and we haven't finished this yet. We still have these little guys to put in. Let's do that. Okay. I've got those. All of that. That's done. Is it the right way? Yes. Or is it? Yes, it is the right way. Those are going that way. That's going that way. Yep. Okay, so now we're ready to put in the turnbuckles, the bearing, which is the 36 or the 620s. I think those are the large ones. Let's see. Yes, those are the 520s. The 620s are the large ones. So the large ones are going in these parts. Here's the large ones. Let's get the bearings in first. Turnbuckles. You only put one of the bearings in. You only put one of the bearings in, this bearing here, because this bearing is part of the turnbuckle. So, you can see the bearing is right there. So this bearing and that bearing will go back in the bag. There we go. That's a better fit. And then that goes in. Okay, they go in these little nubbins right here. Hold those in. So you got to be careful. And then we have those two to go. I'm going to put these two in first. I don't want to put any undue stress on this. I don't have to. Okay, got those out. And they look symmetrical to me. I don't think it's going to matter. Don't over tighten these because you'll break this piece on the end, and then you're screwed. Then you got to get replacement parts. You got to buy the whole tree. Alright, so that's going to be like that. This one's going to be like that. Alright, and then, okay, these are facing away from that, so they're this way. And they have to go inside of here. There we go. Yep, let's train that. So they go like this. Inside the little knob. And like that. There we go. Fantastic. And they spin nice and smooth. Yay. Alright, look at that. I have the first 4 parts together, it seems. Yes, I do. And now we do the same thing to the back, to this piece. I'll get started on that. I'll do all the steps on camera as well so you can see what's going on. Looks like after editing the video on that last segment, I forgot this piece and this piece. So let's get those put in before I start on the rear axle. And those pieces are here. All right, there we go. That's all together now. Now we'll start on the rear axle. It's the same kind of work as before, but I'll go ahead and show you on video how it's done. The rear axle piece. Do the gears. All right, those are the 20s. Those are the smaller ones. Smaller bearings. 2 of those. And on the last one, I forgot to oil these, so I'm going to oil these here. Let's take the other one apart to oil it. And I need another bearing. It's a 20, same one. There's 2 of them, yep. oil on those as well. This goes in here. And this goes like this. There is a larger, if we look in here, there's a larger gap on this side than there is on this side. That's where the gear goes. Here, those bearings are in the right spot. Oh, good golly. I'm going to dry fit this first before I put the grease in. Make sure it's nice and smooth, which it is. Okay. Now we need the 1204s. Put that together. Good, good, good. And I need these two pieces. I'm also going to need one of these. All right. Looking at the instructions, these parts here go towards the same side as where the drive shaft goes in. That's how we put it in, and we got to get those in there with the bearings before we stick those on. And those are the 20s. So those bearings, let's see, those pieces are here. So they don't have the bearings on them yet. Got my bearings, I've got all my parts ready. Inside of here, there's a lip all the way down inside of there. So you got to push that bearing all the way down to that spot. And it's a very, very tight fit. There we go. Now we'll use the stick to get it in the rest of the way. It wasn't too bad. Great. Drop of oil. I'm using this oil here. It's a lightweight oil. Any oil will probably do that's lightweight. Alright, I forgot to add the little ball screwy things into the rear end. I'll show you where that's at. So I forgot to add these balls into this part of these things. So I'm going to splice this in, and you'll see it in the order you should do it. Oops. And they go away. Okay, let's get our little stubby axles in. These go towards this side like this. Okay. I'm lining up the two seams, the seam here and the seam on here. Good. Then we'll screw these in with the 1003s. All right, there we go. Okay, last part of this is to install this little bracket right here where the two ball ends connect to. So we don't want to forget the ball ends, and we just need two screws. So the 1205s and two ball ends. I also want to pay attention to the way that this is going. You put this on upside down, which it will fit upside down, you'll find that these wheels will go the opposite direction of the other set. And to fix that, all you have to do is reverse this bracket, make it go the other way, and then flop the axle. It also shows you nifty instructions here on which way it should go. So if we look at the axle itself, you can see how it's a narrow here, narrow there. So this goes here. Right, need some 1205s, two of those, two ball ends, I'm going to screw this in until the screw just pokes out the back. And I can use that little point to help align it. Situate it in here first. All right, bag A is done. We are ready to move off to bag B. This will probably be the longest video in this series, so stick with me. If you're building one of these along with me, go ahead, do all those things you're supposed to do, subscribe, like, all that stuff. And we'll see you on bag B.